In this demonstration, you'll learn how to perform a dive on your data. But first, let's introduce you to NetDiver. NetDiver is an ad hoc data analysis and reporting tool. It allows you to retrieve and work with information in a customized data structure called a CBase. The process of retrieving information from a CBase is called diving. In this demonstration, we'll use NetDiver to perform dives in a CBase that contains information on the sales of produce. When you first open a CBase file, you'll see an area called the console on the right of the screen. Near the top of the console is the name of your file. Below the file name is a set of folders that help you keep your data organized. These folders are called categories. In each category is an additional set of headings called dimension names. Dimension names are roughly comparable to the column names you might see in a spreadsheet. They identify the information stored in the CBase. For example, you can see that the CBase contains shipping information, as well as information on customers, salespeople, suppliers, and commodities. The number in parentheses after each dimension name tells you how many pieces of information in the CBase fall under that heading. So for example, we can see that the CBase contains information on 97 customers, 31 salespeople, 37 suppliers, and so on. And because these values represent a count of the items in each dimension, they are called dim counts. You can use dimension values to filter your data, as you'll see in a minute. But first, let's think about what we want to learn from our data. Our end goal for this demonstration is to find the names of the customers who bought blueberries from a salesperson named Donnie Gillespie in August of 2018. So we'll begin by clicking the salesperson dimension name to display the names of each of the 31 salespeople. This will be our first dive into our data. In the data display area, called the dive window, NetDiver displays a list of salespeople, along with the quantity of products sold by each person and the total sales generated by each person. At the top is the totals row, which shows the aggregated totals for all the salespeople in the list. We want information on Donnie Gillespie, so we'll click his name in the dive window. Notice that arrows reappear next to all the dimension names in the console. This means we can get further information on any of these items as they relate to Donnie. So we're ready for our second dive. But first, let's double-click Donnie's name for a peek at some additional data. Notice that dim counts have now reappeared next to the dimension names. These dim counts now reflect totals for Donnie Gillespie only. When we first opened this CBase, the dim count for commodity, for example, was 47, because there are a total of 47 commodities listed in the CBase. But Donnie has sold only 30 of the 47 types of commodities. So when we double-click his name, we see the dim count is now 30 instead of 47. Again, in the dive window, we can see totals for every type of produce Donnie sold, but we're interested in his blueberry sales only, so we need to get a breakdown of the types of produce he sold. To get this breakdown, we'll do our next dive on the commodity dimension by clicking Commodity in the console. A new dive window opens up on top of the previous one. In this new window, we see the produce that Donnie has sold broken out by type, with information on the quantity sold for each and the sales totals for each. And again, at the top of the dive window is a totals row, this time showing the aggregated quantity and sales totals for all the types of produce Donnie sold. We can now see that Donnie has sold 5,652 units of blueberries for total sales of $172,390 over the time frame of the data in the CBase. But we want to know how many units he sold in a particular month and to which customers. To get this information, we'll start by double-clicking blueberries in the dive window. NetDiver again updates the dim counts in the console to reflect the narrowing of our inquiry, this time from all the commodities Donnie sold to his sale of blueberries only. We want to know about sales in the month of August 2018, so we'll do our next dive on the dimension ship month. A new dive window opens on the screen, showing us the quantity of blueberries Donnie sold for each of 20 months, as well as the sales total for blueberries in each of those months. The totals row at the top of the window shows the aggregate totals for these values. We're only interested in the blueberry sales Donnie made in August of 2018, however, so we'll double-click 2018-08 next. The resulting dim counts show us that 4 customers bought blueberries from Donnie in August of 2018. To see the names of those customers, we need to do one more dive, this time on the customer dimension. We now have the answer to our original question. What are the names of the customers who purchased blueberries from salesperson Donnie Gillespie in August of 2018? Before we end this video, let's take a quick look at the History heading in the console. You can see that NetDiver has kept a record of each dive we made, so we can revisit the dives and even change them if we like. For example, let's say we want to find the names of the customers who bought cantaloupes from Donnie Gillespie instead of blueberries in that same month of that same year. First, we'll double-click the commodity entry in the history list. NetDiver brings to the front the dive window in which we selected the data value blueberries. In that window, we'll double-click cantaloupes. NetDiver immediately updates all the windows that follow to show us a new result, the list of customers that bought cantaloupes from Donnie Gillespie in August of 2018. This type of dive is called a cascade dive because your changes ripple through or cascade through the remaining dives. One other thing to note, the order in which you complete the dives does not affect the end result. We chose to dive on salesperson, commodity, and ship month in that order before choosing to dive on the customer dimension. But if we had changed the order to ship month, commodity, and then salesperson, the final dive on the customer dimension would have shown the same result. So that's how you dive for information in NetDiver. First, you choose the type of information you want to dive for, a dimension, by clicking a dimension name. In the resulting dive window, you choose the particular value you want more information on. For each subsequent dive, you repeat these 2 steps until you have the final answer to your business question.